I'm in Max.
You are listening to Happy Jack's RPG Podcast.
I'm in Max.
Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Why, hello, and welcome to season 21, episode 8 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
I'm Joey.
And this is Tappy.
We have an empty seat. There's someone who signed up.
It's not
It's not here yet.
I didn't fuck up. It isn't me.
It wasn't you.
First time for everything.
We had a convention.
Oh, it's turning off beautifully.
It's gonna be
right
one
off
of
the
those
gate.
podcasts,
I
yeah.
love it. Okay, game on.
We had a convention last weekend. It was a lot of fun. Tappy showed up. Were you there just the one day?
I did. I was there just that one day, yeah. The next day, I couldn't get back. I was...
Not feeling well?
I had a lot to drink.
There was a lot of...
Yeah, and there's a sandwich that someone brought me for during the podcast, and I totally forgot it there.
Oh.
Yeah. I pretty much had nothing but whiskey and beer from like 10 a.m. on.
Right.
Sounds like con
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You didn't go, did you?
I didn't go. I had to. I'm saving money for an international trip this summer.
Oh, excellent.
So I had to
Excellent.
make do.
I ran my games. I ran the kids' game. I learned never to try to force my kids to play a role-playing game ever again. I might not invite them to play a role-playing game either. I'm not sure.
Oh man, it's so funny. It's like, Dad, can I just go play baseball? Do I have to play this role-playing game?
No, that's definitely not Zachary. Or Allie. That's not Allie. But it was I did a scaled-down version of Moment of Truth for Kids, and there's a few tweaks I need to make to it, having run it and ran a combat. But it's fairly close to a playable game. So now it's based on another game. I just took stuff away from it. So
Yeah, but stealing from yourself is just
yeah. The other game I ran was the Traveler game, and that game was fun. We did character creation for like the first 45 minutes to an hour.
How'd that go?
Good. One of the players, as often will happen, makes a character, and you look at the character and you wonder, why is anyone keeping you around? Because of the way the characters end up.
Oh, right.
It's like, I have no usable skills, and I had them. I
Oh
did
man,
that.
it's the story of my life. Because I'm charming?
Not according to your character sheet.
But that thing that you had mentioned, having the players, after, when you're ready to start playing, roll a mishap to see this is why you're no longer in the, an admiral in the Navy or whatever.
Uh-huh.
I had them do that, and then we went on with the game. It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might do it again. The only thing I want to change, and I think I mentioned this last week, is I want to change the flow chart they have for character creation is built kind of like a conch. And if I put it on like a 11 by 17 piece of paper, it's like roll 2d6 6 times, assign your stats, pick, and just have it like an actual flow chart. I think it'll be easier for people to understand, because you look at it and you're not really quite, even though there's a circle that says start here, it's like buried in the middle, and it's like so.
It's the same one from the book, right? You just
That's what I use. I just printed it out.
Yeah, because
from
remember
the
that,
book.
like looking at that graph, I'm like, I think this makes sense if I go this way and make a left to Albuquerque and then go up that way.
And you're a Taurus.
Yeah.
All right.
Did you play anything where you're?
No, I hung out with my old gaming group.
Oh, cool.
Which was great. Like from back when I was in high school.
Right.
Like Jim and my friend Mike and all them, and my friend Cabe. So.
Yeah, they've both been on the show a couple times.
Yeah.
Did
they ever talk about the BattleTech game that we did?
They met. I think when they were there, they meant, because you had talked about it on the show years ago, and I think that BattleTech game, that was us.
Yeah.
So, they're the ones that kind of convinced me to start buying a bunch of Team Yankee stuff. The little miniatures World War III game.
They're good at that.
Convincing you to go out. Yes, they are. All right. In this episode of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast, Ben from Texas writes in. Ben from Texas brings up the Sauron dilemma.
Woo! This is man. We're doing good.
I know.
Nailing it.
This is going to be a good one. Christopher, I think his handle is Mystic Fedora, says Stu is right. And so he is. So is he.
Nope. You even said your own line wrong. That you're right.
You wrote it.
Joseph from the IE asked about scheduling and vetting players. Not like heavy vetting. Ben from Texas. This is a Ben from Texas doubleheader. And that's a no, see, no, it's not that reference. It's a reference. It's a baseball reference. It's not a porn reference. And he writes in about customizing the game. But first, if you'd like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com, and we're on all the social medias.
All of them ever.
Mediums. We're on Instagram and Twitter, and on Facebook. Go to happyjacksrpg. All one word, and that's it. Boom.
I thought a social medium was a someone who talked to ghosts who was really nice and everybody liked them.
Oh, they only talk to ghosts that like talking to people, maybe?
Right.
A social medium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
An
you can
extroverted
also,
exorcist, if you will.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. No, that's good.
Yep.
You can also watch us live at happyjacksrpg/live. And we do the show at 8 p.m. Pacific time on Friday nights. That may change in the future. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Well, I don't know. Or it might not. But for now, happyjacks.org/live if you want to watch the show live, Pacific time, 8 p.m. on Fridays. And now I've said everything at least twice. Thrice spoke and done. The Sauron dilemma. And this is from Ben in Texas. Let's see if I can read an email. Greetings, almighty douches. I had a situation with my D&D game that I think might come up often for a lot of GMs. My players were playing cat and mouse with a vampire assassin who killed their NPC friend. I had plans for a necromancer character to be pulling the strings, and I successfully planted clues that there was another big bad behind the assassin. But I had a problem. I didn't want the PCs to meet the big bad for the first time in the final encounter. This is why I regret Kimmy's not here, because someone is going to say something bad about Legend of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings?
Lord of the Rings. Whatever. I was going to say Legend of the
That's all
Five
right. I got
Rings.
you. Kimmy, I got this. I got you.
I feel like the showdown with the big bad is a lot more meaningful if they have a personal connection to the PCs. This reminded me of one of my main gripes with the beloved story that inspired our hobby, Lord of the Rings.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
The characters in the story go on a huge epic journey, ending in an all-out war to defeat evil and save their way of life. But they never actually meet Sauron, or talk to him, or anything. He ends up just being a big flaming eyeball on top of a tower that no one ever goes to.
I have so many feelings. So many feelings.
One of them is you have a point?
Is one of them, you're not inaccurate? When I ended up doing what I ended up doing was to find an NPC with a mysterious origin who knew just a little bit too much, and decided that was the big bad. So when the party finds out who the big bad is, they already have a history. Is it the right way of doing this sort of thing? Am I making a big deal over nothing, or does the big bad of the campaign arc really need something special to keep the players and the GM engaged? Keep up the great work, Ben from Texas. P.S. It was a joy having Tappy back on. Woo!
Yay!
Hope we get to hear from him again soon. And look!
Surprise!
You are.
Bam! Bam count 1. P.P.S. Take a drink.
Yeah.
So...
Can I get that church key again?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So-
yeah.
So first... Well, here, I can get it.
You got one?
You got one? Okay.
I have the bear.
Ah, ooh. I like
It doesn't
it.
work very well.
Is it the world famous talking bear?
I can actually use it this way.
Okay,
It
my
works a
church
little
key doesn't
better.
work well either.
There it goes.
All right.
I had to use a corner of it rather than the actual
It worked.
bottle opener. Do you want to try to defend Lord of the Rings
I
versus his criticism?
would need more than the time allotted. Aside, I'll just say that Sauron is the essence of evil in Lord of the Rings. It's you can't really face evil. His minions are kind of the embodiment. It's fine.
Didn't they face him like in the prologue though?
Yes, they did, but they faced him in the prologue. At that point, he's extended beyond that, and so it's fine. I was reading this email and I thought back to, I was playing a game of Star Wars RPG, the Saga Edition, and we had something similar where we had a Sith Lord who was kind of pulling the strings of a bunch of other Sith Lords. This is set years and years, 500 years ABY, so, the Sith Empire was a big thing again. We were facing all these other Sith Lords and kind of taking them down, and we were encountering one who had kind of been a constant thorn in our sides, and we're like, we're going to confront him, it's going to be great. We finally confront him, and the Sith Lord, in pulling of the strings, appears and decides, you know what, no, you're done. You fucked up enough, and basically Force snaps his neck. That'd be something you might want to do if in that situation where you have the big bad appear, punish the person who's been a thorn in the side of the PCs to demonstrate their power, and that kind of gives you that connection. It gives you that this person who's kind of been your nemesis just got waylaid by someone much stronger than them, and that kind of sets up their power, and it adds the PC's history, or the NPC's history you've been dealing with, to the history of your big bad. That was my first thought.
I love the idea that the big bad is really good at spreadsheets. I love that idea. Like the big bad, the guy in charge, doesn't have to be a really good fighter. Oh,
sure.
And so the person, like, if you take Star Wars, let's say, and you're just talking about that, and you have the Emperor, they would have been fine if the Emperor wasn't a Force user. He was just really goddamn fucking evil and gave no fucks.
Right.
You know? He doesn't have to know all these things. He could have just had contingency plans, and then Vader turns on him and kills him, and that's the same thing.
Right.
But he doesn't have to be the world's best Force user. He doesn't have to be magic. If you have Sauron, who's the essence of evil, yeah, he is the one who's pulling all the strings. He's bringing it all together. He has the evil spreadsheets and the evil speed dial. Man, speed dial's not a thing anymore, is it?
No, you're right there with phone trees, man.
Nope. All right, well, the
evil phone tree.
Evil speed dial, and he's calling up
With
the
the evil PTA.
You know, and, making things happen. But he's not the one, he's not the one, you don't have to defeat him physically in order to win.
Right. I mean, he's using minions for a reason.
Right. In World War II, you want to defeat, the captains and the generals and stuff. Hitler's going to die in a ditch on petrol, on fire with petrol. So, he doesn't have to be that bad.
Right.
I like the idea of lieutenants doing the actual fighting. And I think it's a great way to go about still having that sort of worry that the PCs can have. Oh shit, what is going to happen next? Or there's still more to do, unless you're trying to have some sort of finality, and then you can light them on fire.
Right.
But I think it's great.
Yeah, the only concern with doing this kind of thing is when you have those situations, and it really depends on what kind of game you're playing, where someone figures out prematurely, like you've left too solid of a clue, and they just murder him.
Yeah.
Because it's happened. I mean,
Yeah.
I've often said that if you have a big bad that you're going to save for the big climactic scene, don't put him in the same place with the characters until you're ready for him to die.
Yeah.
Depending on what kind of game you're playing, there's lots of ways they can still interact and still have a personal connection without being in the same room. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I do agree that having a personal connection with somebody you're murdering is really important.
Yes.
Because otherwise, who cares?
Right.
You've got to bring them to your apartment, play them Huey Lewis in the news, and then you chop them with an axe.
Exactly. And that actually kind of dovetails to a conversation we were having before of how do you make NPCs mean something to the players? We were talking about it in a different context. But in this one, how do you make NPCs really important? Mm-hmm. And I think that is a really, salient thing to think about, because a giant big bad out there in the ether, how does it have some sort of connection to the characters as opposed to the lieutenant of that big bad who murdered your wife?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that one is holy fuck.
Sure.
You know, I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't introduce that person to the person who murdered their wife until you want that guy to die.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Which, small tangent, this is why I love writing extensive backstories. So I want to give the GM all of that fodder. Like, yes, use all of these things. Make me connected. Make me want to care about these NPCs. I'm going to give you this entire history of this character. Pull something. Pull anything that I can draw from, because I'm right there with you. I want to make that connection with the GM. So, nod to building backstories and making them full and making them actual people instead of just stats on a paper.
Well, and that's also what's great about disclaiming decision-making, too. It's like, oh, yeah, this guy, how'd you know him? It's like, he murdered my wife. You're right, he did. You know, and you can introduce somebody who's terrible and then say, how do you know this person? Do you know this person?
right. Sure.
And the answer, hopefully, is yes, I know them because of this, but sometimes, like, I don't know who this person is, and it scares the fuck out of me.
Right.
But that's another way to just do that on the fly and create those connections.
Right.
All right. Well, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I mean-
I think
Well then.
the having I've had a lot of big bads or like medium-sized bads that have been murdered because they met the party too soon. And I don't know, have you heard the story about the I'm no mere hedge mage? Have I told you that story?
I don't think I have heard that story.
We're playing 5th edition D&D.
Uh-huh.
I've decided the party has gotten to the point where they can fight someone who can cast Fireball. So I make like whatever it is, a 5th level wizard or something. Yeah, something. Anyway, and I gave him that, and I didn't give him a whole character sheet. I just gave him some stuff, and he had kind of like this weird accent, and he was involved with one of the conspiracies that the party was trying to uncover, and he had known that they were traveling from one place to another, so he set up an ambush, and he had, he had like 5 or 6 minions with him who were not going to be real hard for the party to just plow through, but I'm thinking maybe they'll slow him down. I also accidentally gave the party rhinos. 2 of them were riding rhinos. That was bad. That's
You gotta hate accidental rhinos.
that's something I kind of regret. But so the party gets to this pass, and all of a sudden these guys leap down from the rocks to block their way, and behind them is this mage. And I don't remember exactly how the conversation transpired, but they said something, and he said something, and then they said something, and he said, "I am no mere hedge mage." And then we all rolled initiative, and I rolled like a 2 for the mage's initiative. He was dead before he had a chance to act.
Right.
And of course, that's what the story that they always keep bringing up, because it was freaking hysterical. Now, had he gotten a chance to light off that one spell, they would have been really freaking frightened, because most of them would have dropped an enormous number of hit points like that, because Fireball.
Oh no, especially 5e Fireball. That's not. You don't fuck around with that.
No. So, and that was someone who was in the future. He was just going to kind of beat him up and try to scare him and then leave. He wasn't going to murder him. And I never got to use him again because they murdered him.
They murdered him.
So I ended up make a different mage. I made his brother. No, that's the purview of the players to do that kind of thing.
Oh
His
man.
brother.
So,
Oh god.
all right. Next email. Thank you very much, Ben from Texas, and we're gonna hear from you again. Have you guys watched The Tick?
I have. I saw the pilot, the test episode for Amazon when they were like trying to get bids and stuff. Loved it. I haven't watched the full season.
They put the first half of the season out, and they just released the second half of the season like yesterday or the day before. I finished it late last night. My God, it was so funny.
I need to give it another shot because I love Patrick Warburton so much.
See,
On paper, he makes sense, but it didn't execute well.
I didn't like what they did with his costume,
Okay.
and I didn't like how chintzy the effects were, as if there weren't any at all.
Well, yeah.
Right. It's just him marching back and forth across the screen
know,
and
it's
people
great.
tumbling around.
It's so. That's one of the things I love about it is it's very hokey in a lot of ways.
It is. This one, they've got a little more of a budget, and there's actually some effects in it and stuff.
Yeah.
And the Terror flies around the city in a giant T. It's a big giant T. It's a spaceship or a rocket that's a T.
Do they have Apocalypse Cow?
I did not see Apocalypse Cow.
50-foot tall cow that
No.
shoots fire from her teats?
No, but there was VLM, the Very Large Man. And what's his Overkill? Now I don't know I don't recall. I've only read a few Tick comics, but it seems that whenever they do a version of the Tick, whether it's the animated or the 2 live action ones, they don't use the villains from or the other heroes from the comics. They come up with new ones.
Instead of Deflator Mouse, they use...
Yeah, I've never seen Deflator Mouse. Well, Batman Well in...
Yeah, Batman Well.
Right. But this one, they have Overkill, who is, like a psychotic, murdering asshole. And he's a hero.
Right.
So, and they have... I don't remember... There's a couple other ones. There's the Superion, who is the alien, and that's kind of what started the whole superhero thing, like in the Tunguska event in Russia, the giant explosion. That's how he was created, I guess, or that's how he came to Earth. So, but I loved it. I thought it was hysterical. My favorite line is "Shut your nonsense hole, you big blue yeti." I loved it.
That's.
I'm gonna pocket that.
pretty good.
I'm gonna use that.
Shut your nonsense hole. All right. More on player agency from Christopher. Who would like to read?
No. More on, not more on player agency. More
More
on.
on player
player
agency.
I'll give it a shot. Why not? Hello, douche-nuts. Real quick, I've been listening to the podcast while washing dishes. Stuart is right. GMs have tools in their toolbox. It does no good to tell the character what they feel when they can simply show them. Show, don't tell. The age-old trick writers have to learn to create compelling novels, like Dostoevsky, based on this accent, apparently. The queen enters. The hall is suddenly silent. All of the men and women lower their heads. Not even a bird can be heard outside the summer windows. And she enters the atrium. The sun radiates off her golden hair, and with each step her gown flutters outward with pristine elegance. The entire hall holds their breath until she stops and turns. She looks at you. There! That's it. Show the radiance and the beauty. Then the players will be compelled to feel it. Of course, writing prose is easier than improving a game, but whatever.
Have you ever seen The Frisco Kid?
I have not.
Must be some kind of toggle or something.
You sound like Gene Wilder in The Frisco Kid. Go straight as piss to San Francisco.
I love that movie.
That's really...
Oh, I'll have to add it.
It's Gene Wilder and fucking Han Solo.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Oh,
Harrison Ford.
Shut up, really?
A young Harrison Ford.
Young Harrison Ford.
I'll add it to my Steve Rogers list of movies I
And
need to watch.
Gene Wilder plays a rabbi who's bringing the Torah because the rabbi.
Hasidic rabbi.
Yes, and his the rabbi of the area in San Francisco, of the Jewish community in San Francisco, had like just died or something, so he was going to replace him, and he was bringing the Torah with him.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And what's his face?
Harrison
Ford.
Ford is a like desperado type character.
Yeah,
All right, I'm adding
And
to the list.
it's magic.
I need it in my
it's like
life.
when they're trying to run away from the bad guys, and it's like, I can't ride the horse. The sun hasn't set yet.
You're like, how about now? Not yet.
Not yet.
Oh my god.
Because he can't ride. They're on a train. It's like, oh, I have to get off the train now.
Right. What do you mean?
What do you mean I have to get off the train?
Oh,
That's great.
Oh man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail it.
No, it's all good.
But we had to get off the train.
yes. So, I mean, we don't need to rehash the entire player agency thing again, but he happened to mention that I'm right, so I decided we should
No,
include this
it brings up a good point. I mean, as an actor, you get certain things given to you. Stork says a lot. You know, the actor gets stuff in the script. They learn the script. It's all in the script. You have to take that information given to you and use it. This is clear, like, yes, and like, okay, you have all this information. If the DM says you're awestruck, you're awestruck. There's a reason for it. What your character does after being awestruck is up to you. I mean, depending if you're a barbarian who doesn't know the ways of court, or if you're a bard who knows the reverence to give such a queen, like that's up to you. But you have to take a moment and accept the information given, and then analyze it as your character, and then act on it.
One of the things too is like writing prose is easier than improvising in a game. Well, you get better at stuff by doing it.
Yeah.
And if you suck, well, then you can say, oh, and people aren't acting reverent, where it's like, okay, well, roll your etiquette skill or fucking whatever. But, try and do shit like that.
Yeah, that's, I mean, it's always better to say, to set the scene in such a way that the players come to the conclusion you're trying to draw rather than you expressly giving them that conclusion.
Right.
Because then it's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're just going to end up getting a more genuine reaction from the players normally. Unless they just don't give a fuck. And there are players who just don't give a fuck. But,
Yeah.
But then hopefully you know that about your players at the beginning, and so you're not surprised by it.
Speaking of which, thank you, Christopher, for the email.
Mailing it. 2 for 2, man. We are
bad
so
this
good.
I got the name right.
No, the name was right. We're just failing it.
We're just failing.
Everything.
Scheduling and vetting players.
Oh, God.
Joseph, from the I to the E.
Why the fuck would you give me scheduling? Okay, we're going to talk about something I'm bad at.
And IE in this case does not mean...
Inland Empire?
No, it does mean Inland
Yeah.
Empire.
Oh,
It
okay.
doesn't mean, because isn't IE...
In example.
No, in exemplar,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. But I think isn't IE some sort of abbreviation for Ireland at certain things, like in like airports or something? Or
I thought those were 3 letters.
I should know that.
Well, no,
it's IRE in the airport. I know that. I saw on my ticket, but
And also in the Olympics. It's IRE, I know that
Yes.
bit.
right. Olympics, their coverage sucks.
Oh yeah, it's only good when you're in the gym. That's when I get to watch the the
pretty
Olympics.
much.
It
Which
is.
means I haven't seen any curling this season because I'm not at the gym at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I was trying to watch it, and I'm like, oh, I was watching like the ice dancing or something like that because I had my kids, and the kids are watching it with me, and they've never, of course, hadn't seen a Winter Olympics before because they don't really watch Sochi. And we're watching this, and then we're like, oh, this couple won, and they're like, oh, really excited, and they're going to win the gold medal. I can't wait to see their gold medal. And now we move on to people doing backflips
on skis.
on ski boards.
Yeah.
And that's so frustrating. Like
I'm
that's
like,
the reason I
come on.
watch the Olympics.
Can
It's
I
for the
just
medal
finish-
ceremony.
Also, can I just finish this one before I go on to something else?
Oh no!
yeah.
like I can
It's
miss
already-
the preliminary
Well, it's
of the
already
next thing.
pre-recorded like 12 hours before
Right.
because they're not doing it at 2 a.m. in South
No,
Korea.
no.
So it's already just. Can I
Show the
finish
whole
this
fucking
one?
thing.
Yeah.
You've got 4 channels you're showing it on. Show more of
Yeah.
it. Mm-hmm. God, that pisses me off. The other thing, the Olympics should belong to the world. They should not belong to the Olympic fucking organizing committee. So if someone decides to put up YouTube videos of Olympic events,
Oh, they shouldn't take those down.
they shouldn't take them down
Yeah.
fucking immediately, which they do almost all the fucking time.
Right.
Well, everybody does that now. It's-
Well, and that's, I mean, the Olympics is supposed to be an amateur event in general. It's not anymore. Professionals can participate, but it isn't owned by NBC, who has like the discrete rights to show it in
In the United States, yes.
Right.
That's total bullshit.
It's all the it's the Olympic organizing committee, and they're using it to line their pockets. I think they're. And the other thing that I thought, the doping thing, the thing that I noticed because I read a couple articles, and I was watching some commentary, and people were saying like, this is the Olympics where no one is really that good because there's a
Wonder
lot of.
why.
One country gets caught for doping, so they're not allowed to have their flag there anymore. Suddenly, the bar of like ability just kind of slightly drops. Huh?
Well, that would explain the reemergence of the Jamaican bobsled team.
Okay, first of all, they've been doing that for a while and are really good sprinters. But second of all, there's also like, I mean, Sochi was a big fuck up in general because.
Oh, the hotels with no
Well,
doping.
no, and
God.
also like the courses and stuff too.
Right.
Really
Well, they're
bad.
having the same problem in some
But
of the
there
stuff
are
here.
some. I mean, there are some records still being broken
yes
in this one.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we've really learned in kinesiology is how to make people better than they would be doping in the 1980s.
Okay, that
Right?
makes right.
That's why we're still breaking records, because otherwise, when everybody was doing steroids in the 1980s, those would be their records forever. But I don't know. It's more interesting in a lot of ways to me because there isn't just one group being dominant.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I really like that. Like there was this downhill skier who's actually a snowboarder who's from the Czech Republic, I think.
Right.
Who won downhill.
Oh no shit.
And she's like, she was looking at the board going like, well, they're going to add some seconds to it or something. They're not. I didn't even come here for this. I came here to snowboard, and I'm just a pretty good skier too.
Right.
I just got a gold medal in the downhill.
Well, maybe
and
you're
it's
better than you thought you were.
right. So, I mean, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
interesting. You're not having one person being 2 seconds in front of everybody else who was the person you expect to be 2 seconds in front of everybody else.
Right.
So, I don't know. I'm really digging it.
I just wish coverage was better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I watched some of the. I saw some of the. God, what was it? It was some ski thing where they're like doing jumps.
Oh, and side by side, the ski cross?
No, there was 3 or 4 people at once.
Yeah, that's ski cross.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like motocross, but on
with
skis.
skis. Yeah.
And they're like coming up, and there's 3 of them that come up, and the fourth person comes up freaking upside down. It's
Oy.
like, ah!
Welcome to ski cross. Like, they'll run into each other because they have to do the same course. It's designed for them to... They went, hey, NASCAR's got this thing where, like, people like it when they crash into each other. Maybe we can get more people interested. It's very X Games things, and Winter X Games has kind of eaten the Olympics a little.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of bummed about it, especially because that's what gets shown in the United States.
Right. Well,
And so we should have a skiing role-playing game and get back to scheduling players.
and vetting new players.
We'll start
So-
writing a PBTA hack
Man,
for
we,
skiing.
We are so on it, this podcast. We're on it. Hi, all. I'm an ER nurse, and I run an ongoing game for friends and mostly coworkers and their spouses. Oh, man, that'd be really difficult to do a lot of combat in.
Yes.
Because, yeah, 2 kinds of trauma.
Just run 2E, where you have, location damage and...
I think we need to house rule the damage rules.
Yeah, they're like, this is not how this happens. Because last week,
I had a guy come in with a sword through his head.
and we patched him up. It's great. We don't have regular schedules. No shit. We put in our preferred schedule, and we get whatever the supervisors hand us. They really do try, but they have to get the shifts covered.
Sure.
This means most of my players and I can't count on every other Thursday type routine. The fact that I have day, night, and mid-shift players and a couple non-ER 9-to-5ers makes scheduling less than ideal. I also have way more interested parties than I could reasonably run in my available free time. My solution has been the Doodle app and website and let everyone know every day I'm free to play for a given time period. Usually 6 weeks, our schedule rotation. Then everyone gets to vote on the available days from that list. When I get quorum, 3 players for me, we play. Clara was actually in my game until she decided it was too far away.
I'm assuming that's Clara from the Merry Wives of Windsor.
That's what I'm guessing, yeah.
She might be able to tell you how she liked it.
She said it sucked. No, she didn't.
Shade.
Man, I'm getting hives just reading this. I'm telling you. Whew. I'm sure you spot a problem. What if I don't get the same players from session to session? I don't. I run an open table. See www.thealexandrian.net for more info.
A fabulous RPG blog, by the way.
Oh, cool. I didn't get a chance to look at it.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Is it?
Absolutely fantastic.
Well, apparently we would like him.
Oh, well, that's good to know.
Basically, I run closed-ended adventures in a continuous world, like a TV show with a rotating ensemble cast. Game time matches world time. If it's been a month since you played, it's been a month in-game. The things that happened in the last game affect the story in this game, whether you were there or not. This makes the world breathe, and it's super easy to try out new players. Once I've met them and decided I'm okay with them in my home, I can run with them. If they don't fit, I let them know and stop inviting them to the Doodle scheduler. My player bullpen is now 16 strong.
Jesus.
Some of them married couples, and they keep coming out of the woodwork. Some are more regular than others, but everyone knows they'll have a good time when they come. I think this is a great way to run games and highly recommend it. Highly is in capitals.
Yes. Highly
Recommend it. Life still happens, but this way the game does too. If you and your listeners want to try it, I recommend a very clear set of table rules to establish things like, you trust them because you know these two. Tell me how. I'm not here your character, so be adventurous. And we get who shows up, so don't worry about party balance. I'll make it work. Also check out the Alexandrian website for a complete description. Not affiliated, just a fan. Wow, this got long. Oh, not that long.
That's not.
No,
Yeah,
it wasn't long at all.
You're doing A-okay there. Thanks for all you do. Drink if you're so inclined.
I will.
Yehida.
Oh, I have another one.
Cheers. Yosef in the Inland Empire. Yomen Colubris from on the forums.
I ran a Traveler game. It was called Ashes of Exodus, and I think we only did like 2 or 3 sessions. We didn't do very many of them, but we did it. I had a pool. I had a lot of players with busy schedules, and I had a pool of 7 or 8 players. And I said, as long as we have 4, we'll go ahead and run the game.
So you ran Star Trek.
Kinda, basically, yeah. And the players were all members of a crew on a ship that was owned by an NGO that basically likes to go out and meddle in, interstellar politics. So, yeah, and it worked out really well until Rob showed up, Hosier Rob, and convinces the party we need to take the ship 3 parsecs, or farther than that actually, like 4 or 5 parsecs away, abandon the ship, and then pay a transport to have us go back to where we came from. But we're not going to go on the same transport. We're going to go on different transports because in case some of us get followed, we don't want to all get killed because we have to get our information back. So by the time the session ended, they had their ship, where presumably the rest of the crew who happened to be there was there, orbiting around a gas giant 3 star systems away from where they started, abandoned.
Oh, God.
And I had players strung out over like 2 or 3 other star systems on different transports. And I'm like, okay, now how am I going to how do I get the party back together? What I would have had to do is fast forward and say, okay, you all eventually get back, you go get your ship, and you come back, and just...
Or you can be like, next time they're there, it's like, okay, let's make your new character. Well, yeah, no, because your character's on the... This is a game about
the ship.
Yeah. So, I mean, the ship is...
You left. Like...
Yeah, this is like, in Firefly, the 9th character is the ship. So that's what we're going to follow.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. Yeah. So, and I do think that's a good way to run a game if you know you're not going to get the same players every time. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about on the the host Slack, because we had, Concrud hit a lot of people, so a lot of games got canceled. Basically this whole
week was canceled.
Full of actual plays got canceled. Mm-hmm. Monday night, of course, because the con was still going on. Wednesday night got canceled.
Yep.
Tomorrow or Sunday, I can't do it because my son's graduating from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts. So there's just like this whole week is just.
That's when he loses a finger, right?
Yes. No, he gains a finger. He grows a finger.
Oh, he grows a finger.
He goes from 2 to 3.
Good.
But we've been talking about ways that we can have pickup games, or one of the things people were talking about was one shots. But it would be kind of nice to have some kind of game that it's episodic. And I was actually thinking even like having a set group of characters, but they're up for grabs for whoever shows up.
Oh, that'd be
fun.
interesting.
So you could have and maybe more than one GM who's going to run the game. You may have to use a pretty loose and fast system to run it, but not necessarily. But you could do it in anything, and then you just know these are the 4 communal characters. So when you guys show up, you'll be playing one of these people, and make them real broad, contrasted characters, so that they're archetypes.
It's kind of like a storytelling improv game. Where like, okay, now you're in control of the narrative, but it's each different character. That's
right.
Interesting.
And the things that happen to the character and when stuff that happens to their stuff, the next player gets it. This
God
guy
damn it.
had a laser rifle and now he doesn't. What happened?
Well,
Well,
you watch the last actual play.
Funny story that.
Yeah.
That's the only problem. The
continuity would be
the
an
continuity
issue.
problem, because I think one of the things he talks about is there is sort of an overall arc to it.
Right.
If you've got 16 players and he only needs 3 to play, there's a high likelihood the next group of players weren't in the last game.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's not recording it, which he probably isn't, they have no idea what happened in the last game. So your overarching story that's going to happen over the course of several sessions, they may miss it entirely.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to come up with some method of keeping them. The GM, you may not even be able to rely on the one player being the same.
Right.
You say, you want to recap what happened last time? And, well, I wasn't. No one was there.
Right.
So the GM will have to probably has to do that.
So, the I already, I think, said my idea for this sort of thing before.
You mentioned it in the Shadowrun game.
Yeah, which is my Shadowrun game that I really want to run. Which is every single time you have a game, it is a discrete run.
Right.
And you have new players for it. You have your fixer who's putting all the characters together, or you have you're going to play the fixer yourself and just put together a Shadowrun group, and then they do the run. They have to do all of their like legwork for the actual run, figure out where all the things are, do all their matrix runs. If they don't actually have a decker, then they have to find one or hire one or figure that shit out so they can actually do the run. And then the run happens. If they don't get to the end, if they don't finish the run by the time the game's over, run is scrapped and they go home. And nobody, you don't finish this run. And then you go on to your next one.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that sort of game would be great.
My
That'd be a lot of fun. I also like the idea of doing all the prep away from the table.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice too. my home game, we're a bunch of actors, and actor schedules, you never know. Like, you get cast at a show, all of a sudden your rehearsals, you can't meet, week to week. When I was reading this, actually reminded me a lot of our scheduling conflicts. One of the games that we run is a game where we're all basically settlers going to a new world, and we've established this town. And there's like about 8 or 10 of us, and so we'll put up on our Facebook group or instant messenger, like, hey, we're going to run this game on this day, who's available? We get like 4 or 5 people, and like, great. The DM kind of like runs a one shot, but it's continuing characters. And if you can't be there, then your character's doing something else that day. You are saying something in town. You are running your business in the town. You can't go off and fight these monsters somewhere, and then they come back, and if you join the next time, you're like, okay, well, this is what happened last time. The GM kind of does the recap, and it's all fine there. Another thing we're doing, because we can't help but run games, even though none of us are ever available, is we're doing a Star Wars game in FFG. Mm-hmm. And we've kind of split our group of our main group's like a main 6. We split it in 2 groups of 3. So we have an Empire side and we have a Rebellion side. And our efforts are constantly causing issues for the other group. So we're running in the same universe, but you only have to worry about getting 3 people together now instead of 6. And so it's the same universe. You're not really doing much more prep because you're prepping for the same thing, but if the rebels meet on Monday and the Empire meets on Wednesday, like, okay, well, then the rebels do this thing, and now the Empire has to deal with these things the rebels did on Monday in their game on Wednesday. So that could be a thing, too, like dividing it up between your players and running kind of 2 different games, but in the same world, but having them affect each other.
Only pitfall I see in that is the passing of time. How do you handle the passing of time?
Well, they run it, luckily, so far, we've been able to meet more or less in the same week. Like, if I'm in the Rebellion group, so the Rebellion group meets on Monday.
No, not real world time, but time passing in the game world.
Well, that's what I mean. So if we're kind of meeting in the same week, so no group is getting too far ahead of the other.
But what if one group wants to wait 6 months?
Then that's a problem. We haven't crossed that bridge yet.
You should do that next time.
We'll
See what
how that
happens.
goes.
See if they figure that out.
Right.
For whatever reason. It's like, okay, so now we're going to wait 6 months, and then I'm going to do this thing.
Right. Luckily, I'm not DMing that game, so it's not my problem.
We're gonna overhaul the ship. I'm gonna do it myself. No help. It's gonna take me 6 months.
It's fine.
Or, the other thing is travel. Because travel in Star Wars is highly unpredictable.
Right.
We don't really know how long it takes to get from planet to planet
Yeah.
by watching the movies.
They
Is it
go
a
at the
day? Is it
speed
an
of-
hour?
Right. And that's kind of what happens. But, in the game I ran, I had the players go from one part of the galaxy all the way to another part of the galaxy, and you know that ain't happening in days,
Right.
right? That's months probably. I would imagine. I mean, who knows? Maybe hyperspace lanes go super fast. I don't know, like turtles.
Yeah, because light speed is not that fast when you're talking about intergalactic travel.
Right. And a lot is going to be going on in the rest of the galaxy during that time that they're traveling for 4 hours.
Right.
And so that's one thing I would wonder about. But if you just say, okay, you've arrived, and you may not even keep track of, I mean, the GMs may not even be keeping track of how much time is passing, which is fine.
Well, I mean, luckily we're both in the same system. We're in the Corellian system. We're trying to influence. Basically, we're trying to get. It's basically right between episodes 3 and 4. We're trying to get the Corellian system to pick a side. They're kind of being ruled over by the Moff, but the Moff again is kind of there as a placeholder because Corellia's not really going to be ruled by anybody.
right.
So the rebels are trying to get them to join the rebellion. The Imperials are trying to maintain Imperial control. So we're not really traveling far outside of the Corellian system if we are traveling. So that's one way they're circumventing that is we're kind of based in Corellia.
That helps a lot.
That's the one reason I really like Traveler. Of many reasons I like Traveler is you know how long travel takes.
Right. That Heavy Metal does. The key to a successful campaign is accurate record keeping. So spake the Gygax. You cannot have a meaningful...
Again, this sort of thing gives me hives.
Oh no, I have different themed books for my different games.
I need another drink.
Oh, Jesus.
I love record keeping. I love taking notes, and I love having books themed for my different games. I have a pirate book for Spaniard's Ghost. I have a Hogwarts book for my Harry Potter RPG that we're writing. I have a book I just bought for my Bedlam Hall game I'm going to run. Like, I have different little books, journal books, for taking notes for each game.
I'm sorry, you just started speaking a language that I don't understand.
Oh, I love it.
Like,
I'm also the Hermione in my group, so it's just ingrained in me.
fair enough. You are somebody that is very important for every game.
My record keeping for campaigns when I'm running them is at the end of this, after the session is over, I spend 5 minutes and I write down, here's how many days passed, in case that ever matters. Because sometimes it matters. I mean, when I ran the vampire game, there was a player that had lunacy or whatever it is, so they kind of go nutty, or they can, what do you call it when they... Frenzy.
Oh, yeah.
They can frenzy easier during full moons and stuff. So I had to actually start to keep track of every 28 days. And but normally what I do is I just make tick marks for every date or every night that passes in the game. And then I just write out a quick thing and like, here's the things that passes and here's the date that the next game is going to start, etc. So it's not that big of a deal. Now, as far as scheduling goes, I use Doodle. I had a hard time getting people to use it. People just weren't used to it. But you're in a situation where you're going to have to do something like that. And I think Doodle actually, it will work in such a way where everyone can put their work schedule in. And I think it'll tell you, here's the times when you're all...
See, that's helpful because for our Harry Potter game, I'm kind of the person's default scheduler.
Wait, are you the Hermione in your Harry Potter game?
More or less. My character actually is kind of the Hermione of our group because I can't help myself. And I've tried hey guys, send me your schedules, your work schedule, just so I can figure out, okay, here's a blank space where all of us are free. Do we want to play then? And surprisingly, they don't want to send me that information. I don't know why, but it's like gamers are flaky or something, or like having free time.
Maybe it's actors.
Well, that too.
That
too.
Could be. Could be. Just putting that out there.
It's funny too. They mentioned vetting in the email, or at least the title of the email, and I was kind of reading it and remembering I was joining a game, and they actually made me take a quiz on the rules of 3.5 where I got to join their game.
Woo! I would be like, well, it's nice to meet you guys.
Right?
And
No.
walk out that door.
No, I was doing a show with somebody, and she mentioned her husband played games, and I was like, okay, cool, and. My best friend wanted to join their game. He actually knew some people in the game. He's like, okay, well, we'll take a look, test it out, and we went and they handed us a test, like a quiz. Like
this is something they had already pre-made.
Oh yeah.
Nope.
Oh yeah.
It's been swell, but Swone's gone down.
It was 3.5. 3.5 in the world where 5e already existed. They were still playing 3.5. And to be fair,
not even Pathfinder, but
no,
3.5.
3.5. But to be fair, they've been playing the game for like 5 years. Like, I get you want to kind of get an idea, and you don't want to have to sit with someone who doesn't know the rules. Okay, that's fine. And the quiz was pretty easy. It was like, basic 3.5 rules. And then it got to like, how does this poison work? I don't fucking know. And then one of the questions was, to the best of your ability, explain the grapple rules. And I said, I will never grapple in this game.
I promise I will never grapple.
I promise. Like, there's no way. I'm not going to grapple because 3.5 grapple rules make no sense whatsoever. I've played 3.5 forever until 5e came along. Thank you, 5e. And I still can't explain the grapple rules to you. I don't know.
You say, well, how oiled is the other person? Because that changes how you're going to grapple somebody.
I saw the other guys in the group. I wasn't that interested. But
it's always the problem.
But vetting is a thing. I don't recommend quizzes. The game actually ended up imploding, and I was very happy to watch it implode.
Did they let you in?
Oh, they let me in.
How did they let you in if you failed all the
Oh
questions?
no, I didn't fail the quiz. I did very well on the quiz.
Oh,
it was ridiculous.
Just the grapple one is stupid.
Just the idea of a quiz.
How did you do? But you just said that. But several of the
They
questions.
enjoyed my answers. They thought it was.
Oh, so
stupid.
maybe the test is not to see how well you know the rules, but to see if you can recognize a ridiculous fucking thing.
You'd think. And then I met the players and played with them. And I'm like, oh no, wait, no.
And then you met Grappler Tony.
Base more or less.
Tony.
Oh, it was a nightmare. The game was a nightmare. I have never experienced railroading like this in my life. It was ugly. It was real ugly. And my favorite moment ever was watching the game implode over Facebook Messenger. Over one small thing that
Was it a rules argument?
No.
Oh.
Because that would have been
So,
glorious.
long story short, I was playing an elf warblade who was trying to get the elves of the city to join our cause. And I go in, and I've kind of built I like writing extensive backstories, and see the DM was like, oh, this is great, I'm going to pull from this, like, cool, awesome, I love it. I found out I'm going to my hometown, like, great. I'm going to write a letter. In case something happens to me on the way to this city, I'm going to write a letter, roll a diplomacy check to kind of like, here's what we want, here's what we're doing, so you know we're coming, like, we're ready to go. I roll the dice on the diplomacy check. I roll a nat 20. I had a 15 diplomacy. It was a 35 diplomacy check on this letter. So I'm like, cool, we're golden. We're going to get there. It's going to be great. We get to the edge of the forest, and the message we find, we encounter like a small battle or whatever. We fight some mooks. We find a body, and the body was the courier carrying my letter.
Well, shit.
So I'm like,
thanks.
I am now holding
Asshole.
a 35 diplomacy check in my hand.
Oh, that's shitty.
Right.
So I go.
yeah, no.
I go, and I'm like, cool. We get to the gates. I'm like, great. Give this to the king, because fuck if I'm gonna lose a 35 diplomacy check.
Yeah, right?
You give me a physical diplomacy check. I've rolled it. You're gonna read it. And he does, and it's fine. But basically, he decided how he wanted this to go. He wanted me to basically betray the party in favor of my family. And so he was like wheedling, and like, I'm not going to do it. And finally it's like, okay, maybe the GM's trying to direct me in a direction that's going to be really cool for the story, really cool for my character. Like, all right, like, you're really, really pushing this. So I'll yes and this. Like, okay, fine. Like, I will follow this breadcrumb trail. Oh, before this, he made me give a speech. My character had to give a speech to kind of voice our argument. And I found out from one of the players in the game, like, he loves, if you pull stuff from actual history, that's great. So I do, like, research on, like, history and speeches and pull stuff. And I write this, like, within 2 hours writing this speech, and I gave the speech in the game. King shows no emotion. I have no idea if it actually worked or not. So then I decided to betray the party to... Anyway. All this happens, and basically I determined at this point, my actions mean nothing. My actions mean nothing in this game.
Yeah.
So we kind of talk about it.
That's kind of a good definition of railroading.
No. But like, it was like legit, like, literally nothing matters. So I kind of voiced this to someone, my friend who kind of got me into the group, and was like, okay, well, I'll bring it up as kind of a group thing. Like, I don't want to name names or anything. And then literally, I'm at work, like, and my phone is just going crazy. Like, what is going on? So I go on my lunch, I'm like reading through this message, I'm like, oh my god, the game is literally imploding. Like, I wanted to get popcorn and just read it.
So this is something that everybody has seen, but nobody has said.
Exactly. And like, oh my god, this is
that's
great.
fun.
But then you have half the players defending the GM, and half of them like, oh yeah, that was kind of shitty, and maybe you should like. It was just. And at this point, like, I was done with the game. Like, I'm like, I don't want to go to the game anymore. I'm making excuses not to go to the game.
Right.
Like,
Well, because it's the same as you going to the game.
right. Basically. So.
So
I'm just,
why do it?
It was just like watching the sun explode. Like it was beautiful and catastrophic, and lovely. It was real pretty, and very very like eating just desserts and karma. It was watching karma happen. It was lovely. As far as I know, they're still playing the game. Kudos to them.
Well, or they could not be. It's still the same game.
Right? Who knows? And that's what we determined. It was basically the GM wanted to write a book. And wanted
there's a lot of those.
And wanted the PCs to give him reactions to what he was writing. Was basically what it boiled down to. And it was like, I'm not into that. I'm not feeling that anymore. I'm gonna tap out.
You know what? GMs who want to write a book, we always tell them, just go and write your novel. Why don't you write a book about role playing? Write a setting book.
Yeah.
It was a very interesting setting. It was a really cool. Like,
absolutely. Write a setting book. That's great.
Yeah.
My friend who got me into the game, like I went to his house like a week before I joined the game, and he gave me like a 2-hour recap on this 5-year campaign they've been running. Like that's really freaking cool. Like this is a really cool story. I'm like, I want to get involved, and then I was like, oh wait, no, I don't. This is legit a story. Like it's story time. Like once upon a time.
Yep. Riding the Nope train to Fuckthetville.
Yep, basically.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Joseph from the Inland Empire. We appreciate your email.
Did we have anything else to say about that? I think didn't we just get distracted immediately?
Well,
Oh no, we did. We did meet it.
No,
we did scheduling.
Okay. Sorry, I
Talked a little bit about
scheduling and
vetting.
I
vetting.
totally
Yeah.
forgot what the
quiz.
thing was
Remember
about.
his
Yeah, yeah,
quiz.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I think we're good.
Okay,
I
good.
think we're good.
Let's go on to the next.
Customizing the game from Ben from Texas. Attend me, ye deleterious douchebags. Some time ago, I apologized to Canada. I read the Canadian iTunes reviews, and I apologize for burping. I'm very sorry, Canada. The rest of the world, fuck you. Canada, I'm sorry I burped.
Oh, okay.
They do not like belches in Canada.
They're very polite there.
Yeah, so it's good to be polite back. It's only polite.
To be polite back.
Yeah.
But what if it just slips out?
Right. Oh, you know what's great about Canada? Because I was just in Canada like a few months ago. Is
Cold
that
as fuck?
No, it wasn't. It was awesome because it's on.
The summer there's lovely.
Well, this is in Victoria. No,
Okay.
I was there in fucking January. But Victoria on Vancouver Island
Oh yeah,
is
coasts are always a little more
beautiful. But
moderate.
they have sausage rolls in like every single coffee shop.
I mean,
You
like
know-
a
Like
a
fair
toad in
sausage
the hole.
rolls?
Like a
Like-
toad in the hole.
I love that shit.
At every coffee shop I was at, they had like fresh, homemade sausage rolls.
That is
It
my
was
breakfast
really-
every morning at fair. It is
Goddamn
a
amazing.
perfect like base for right before I get to drink that
A
morning
toad in the
beer.
hole?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or the sausage rolls in the cart, like right there by the reef. That little
Oh yeah.
yeah, like
I
one of the,
usually-
one of those and like morning beer, and I'm good to go.
Right.
Oh man, it was so great.
Morning-
I had
a
meat
morning-
pie like right
a morning
off
water. You mean?
That's what I mean.
morning water. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Right off of the plane, there was a place that had awesome meat pies, and then it was fucking sausage rolls for a week. It was great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
When I was in a Boy Scout, we went to the World Jamboree in Alberta, Canada, and it happened in like August. It was the most gorgeous August ever because Alberta is like dead right in the middle of the continent,
And
it's
it's cold as fuck. Except in the
except in
summer.
August,
Yeah.
it was like spring anywhere else. It was beautiful. It was awesome. I've been like, God, this is awesome. I'd love to live here, not realizing that just 3 months later, you're going to be under 12 or 15 feet of snow.
Oh man, no. Vancouver Island is amazing.
Yeah.
Like everywhere there's fucking awesome. Anyway,
Some time ago, I wrote in with a dilemma.
you had a new player.
I had a new player for my D&D 5e game. They're talking about my burp in the who wanted to use the Alter Self spell to transform her sorceress into a powerful monster. Unfortunately, that spell just made you look like a powerful monster. The polymorph spell that would actually do that thing is a much higher level, and she didn't have access to that. Now, as I recall, this is like someone who's like brand new to role playing. So this is their first role playing session. So you don't want to say, well, actually, a lot to someone. That's a real great way to turn someone off from that.
Yeah,
But also, it's a balance.
It's a level 1 spell versus like a level 5 spell.
Sure.
You guys are going to hate my answer to this. Go ahead.
In the game, I was lucky enough that the baddie attacking the party was down to almost no hit points, and the player actually succeeded at killing it with her bare claws. I even let her narrate the kill, and she was stoked about it. I dodged a bullet there, but what if she tries it again? I decided to plant a magic item for her in the next dungeon that would basically do the thing that she was trying to do. Upgrade her spell to transform into a dangerous creature with actual creature's dangerous abilities. Unfortunately, the party ended up giving it to a different PC who just wanted access to the regular Alter Self spell. I couldn't even really try to get him to give the item to the sorceress because he was making clever use of the spell to solve puzzles and fool NPCs. So when we got to the climactic battle with the Vampire King, transformed into a huge bat creature, the sorceress decided to pull her original trick of turning into a big dragon creature to fight him. I ended up convincing her to grapple with the baddie while the party took advantage of the opening, which worked out fine narratively. Unfortunately, we did have to have that awkward conversation about how the rules actually worked in the middle of the fight. In retrospect, I think I should have talked to her between sessions, maybe, and explained what was wrong and how she was trying to use her spells. Then I should have offered her a less powerful version of the polymorph spell that was balanced for her character level. By trying to circumvent that conversation entirely, I ended up allowing the issue to pop up in the middle of an exciting boss fight. I guess that's my GM confession. I remember you asking how it turned out, so there's... sorry, Kenneth. All of the gory details. Overall, the campaign went great, and we got to a good stopping point that can be resumed at the next opportunity. Before that happens, though, this sorceress will have lesser polymorph mysteriously added to her spellbook. Douchely yours, Ben from Tejas.
All right.
Give us the opinion we're going to hate.
Well, obviously, she's not a sorceress. She's a shapeshifter. And you just give her a shapeshifter class. Because that's what the player wants to play.
Okay, but also shapeshifter is still... There's a size thing.
I don't really care. You know, once you're a certain size, that doesn't mean you're a certain strength. But as long as it's something that is interesting, that's what the character wants to do, and is like 100% like willing to go down that thing, make a shapeshifter class.
See, I liked his answer to giving them an artifact. I think that's what he said. To let her use something similar to that. We had something similar in another game I played where I was basically given a ring that more or less let me use the Phoenix Force, effectively, for lack of a better term. But every time I used it, I had more and more chance of not being able to come out of it.
Well,
and eventually burning myself out. So I like that idea of giving your players something like a big MacGuffin or a big weapon like that. That can be great, but have it come at a cost.
Well, but that's the same thing of having a shapeshifter, is she's a shapeshifter, not a sorceress. So now you're not getting spells or whatever, you just have these shapeshifter abilities. Because that's what the player is interested in doing and has done.
But you're...
Like, I had a character in Apocalypse World who wanted more of, like, magic abilities than what you had with a Savvy Head, which was, like, the Tinker thing. It's like, cool. Instead of, like, the Savvy Head has, like, their garage where they can, like, make fucking anything. And I'm like, cool, so instead of this garage where you can make anything, you have a ritual circle in which you can do anything, right? Or this ritual ability. So you tell me what you want to do, and we'll figure out what the ritual is that you do, and that'll be it. Well, she decided that she really wanted a specific type of ritual that she was doing. So it's like, oh, well, I'll do this so I can do this thing. And I just ran with it, even though that's not mechanically how it's supposed to go. That made sense for the character because she had already been doing that. It did the kind of things that she wanted to do and what the what the entire group needed without being insanely ridiculously powerful. She was like, well, I want the sun to explode. Like, what do I have to do? And that'd be a lot of stuff. But instead it was much more like what she was coming up with narratively was really interesting, fit within the kind of ritual she wanted to do, instead of me telling her what she has to do.
Right.
So in this situation, why don't you just let them be a shapeshifter if that's what they want to be?
The difference there is you have a character who's trying to use a level 1 spell to basically do what a level 5 spell can do, which is going to balance her compared to the rest of the party.
You're not paying attention to what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying that she's using a spell anymore. She's becoming a shapeshifter, which means she gets one-hit die abilities and things like that. You can still be a big dragon character, but you still have these abilities and stuff, and you don't get the other spells as a sorcerer, which means as you grow with everybody else, you'll have more and more powerful forms. What's the problem?
Well, shapeshifter is a race, not a class.
Well, you can call it something else,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
shape monkey. I don't
Okay.
fucking give a shit. But what I'm talking about is just like working, when the players are showing you that kind of thing,
Right.
and new players especially, why not run with it?
I guess, I mean, in 5e is
I told you you weren't going to like it.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine. In 5e specifically, because I'm a huge champion of 5e. I think they took a lot of the issues from 3.5 and 3.0.
Oh, yeah, and there's a shapeshifter in
but
3rd
like, but
edition
there's
that was
a
shit.
oh, it was awful. But they did a really good job of balancing everything. So it's really hard for me to kind of take it like look at that and then like let's just do that instead. Like they took a lot of time to balance everything really well. I don't know. I mean, thematically and story-wise, I totally get what you're saying. But if I'm playing like a bard in 5e, which I have done, and they're fantastic versus 3.5, I love 5e bards. If there's another player, it's like I'm just going to turn into a dragon, more or less at will. That's an issue as far as power balance.
But that's what you're already defining what a dragon is and what that dragon can do.
I agree with you there. I agree.
Like
with you.
they can be a drake, a lesser drake, a monkey drake, whatever fuck you want to call it.
The new
and it
player,
doesn't have
the brand new player, probably doesn't know what kind of powers a dragon would have, so he can say, "Oh, instead of rolling a d6 for your damage, you can roll a d10."
and a D10.
Right.
Holy fuckballs, that's great.
It's only much later when they realize, "Oh, wait, dragons do like 19 something." Or
Yeah,
other.
yeah, but you weren't a dragon. You were a shape drake,
Right.
a lizard bard.
Right.
You know, but you're still having that thing of a character turning into something that looks like a snake dragon, grappling with a bat vampire, while the rest of the party shoots and lasers and stabs it into oblivion, is very cool.
yeah.
And, you know, I'm a big fan of learning the mechanics of a system to such an extent that you can fuck with them however you want. And that's just kind of my brain and how it works. I haven't played 5e that much, so I'm not entirely sure exactly how the balance stuff goes, but it seems to me it should be relatively easy. And if it's like, well, all you need is an artifact in order to make it okay, well, give them another artifact. It's a magic ring of shapefuck that only you can use.
Right, but again, like the artifact should work, and if you're going to give them that much power, it's totally fine at that level. But have it cost them something.
Well, you're still talking about that much power because you have an idea already of how much power I'm talking about. And I don't think that we're talking about that same level of power. Of like, you turn into a dragon. Holy fuck, like an adult red dragon. Oh my god, that could kill all of the party. Well, I'm not really saying that.
But you're asking someone to be able to grapple with a vampire who turns into this...
A giant bat.
Right.
Yeah. Why not?
Oh, maybe it's possible. My brain maybe is too stuck in the rules for 5e because D&D is kind of my
And
wheelhouse.
so what you're telling me is that the character sheets are holding you down, man.
It's possible, which is why I'm getting more into PBTA and story narrative games, as we talked about earlier.
Well, and it's not just like, you know, narrative power and stuff that I'm talking about. I'm still talking about also like dice power. Like we're talking about rolling a D10 instead of a D6.
Right.
You know, you're talking about you have the ability to grapple this bat vampire when before you wouldn't.
Right.
Like you're getting entirely new powers here. And this player, it feels like they're kind of in on it. It also feels like this dragon isn't that big. Because a large bat or a vampire that turns into a bat that's the same size as a vampire would be swallowed up by a regular dragon.
Adult dragon.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So, there are lots of like specifics we're missing in this context.
Right.
But a player who's really imaginative, and that's one of the things that us old people who have been playing games for a long time get very stuck in ruts. And that's why some of these new games, we have this renaissance of games that are coming out, like 10 Candles that we talked about. That is completely beyond the scope of anything I would think of for a role-playing game.
You wouldn't even think of that being a role-playing game back
Right.
5 years ago.
Or even Apocalypse World is very different than how we would have thought about role-playing games 20 years ago.
Sure.
And so we have all of these different new ideas coming out, and you have players who are coming into this world that I think, it's yes and can become like a problem when it's like, well, I want to use my telepathy to make that building fall. Well, no, you can't fucking do that. That's stupid. But yeah, you want to use this level 1 spell? Well, it's actually not a level 1 spell for you anymore. It is now this ability you have, and we can talk about what you can do with it. That's what I would do. But that's because I have lots of fuckery when it comes to balance and actual mechanics.
Now, someone on the forum or on the chat room just asked about 10 Candles. So I want to give like a tomes at the boiling anything.
Of course, yes, sir.
Because I mean,
No.
I put up a post that we were going to run it on Facebook, and someone went in and said, "Oh, this is my favorite part." Da, 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 da. I'm like, delete my post.
No wonder I didn't see it. Okay.
Yeah, you did not see it. The light you create, and of course, the entire power grid over the entire planet is being horribly strained, and lights are going out everywhere, and then it all happens very rapidly. 5 days ago, they came. They are these things that love the night, don't like light, and they're hunting you and trying to kill everyone. What are they? That's determined, can be determined during the course of the game, but it may or may not. The cool mechanic in the game is that you literally, the way they want you to play it is you play it at night, or you play it in the dark, and you play it by the light of 10 candles. Those 10 candles represent the 10 scenes of the game. When the game starts, the players have a dice pool of 10 dice, one for each candle. As each candle is extinguished, and they're extinguished when the scene ends under specific circumstances, one of those communal dice to the players goes to the GM. And then when there's a conflict, the players roll their dice, the GM rolls his die. The players have to get more sixes than the GM. Even a tie goes to the GM. Whoever wins that roll has total narrative control over that scene.
The players can succeed, but then the GM could decide how they succeed or what
they could. Yeah, but the whole point is what you're really rolling for is narrative control.
Right. Yes.
So I'm going to open the door and see if there's anything in there that we can use. I'm looking for flashlights or candles or something. That would be a conflict. Go ahead and make a roll. Okay, you got a 6. You open the door. What did you find? And it's entirely up to you, right? You can find, 1,000 mag lights or whatever you want, or however you want to do it. But as the game goes on and those candles get extinguished, a die goes to the GM's pool, and so the GM's dice pool starts growing to the point where he's going to start winning. He or she is going to start winning narrative control more often than the players. And when the GM gets narrative control, things get bad, right? And the game literally. The whole point of the game, and I think this is something that you should definitely let the players know up front.
Oh, yeah, you need to let them know up front.
Every character is going to die. It's the whole point of the game. Every character is going to die.
Man, I got a dream team for this game that I already have in mind. I want to play it so bad.
I'm running a session of it 7 p.m., not tomorrow, but next Saturday. So
there's a space available. I'm in.
Let me talk to them. We have 4 players, but we might
let
be
able
to. We'll see. But I'm very excited to run the game to see how it works, especially with people who haven't played it and haven't read the book, because there's a lot of surprises in that game. There's a lot of surprises just in the way you make characters and everything about it.
Don't read the book unless you're going to run it, is what I'm hearing.
At least for the first time.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Now, you still might have a fantastic time, but I have to think that going into it, not reading the book, that you were going to have
Because like
a very visceral reaction.
Because I read the book. I bought the book after they talked about it at the podcast at the con. I bought the book, literally paused the podcast, bought the book. Can you listen to the podcast? And so I've read it, and I love.
It's a quick read.
It's a quick read. It's
under
like 90
100
pages.
Yeah.
And I was actually on that podcast, was so drunk I didn't remember it, and then was told about it, and it's great the second time.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I read it is because I'm planning to run it for my home group. But yeah, if you get a hold of the book and you're going to run it, don't let your players know anything else about it except the bare minimum, that their characters are not going to make it. It is a narrative game. Just trust me on this and go with me on this journey, and it'll be great. And I think you'll get a lot out of it.
And the second time, when everybody knows that it's how it's going to go, especially maybe a different group or maybe you're playing and somebody else is running it and you know it's going to... I still think it'll be fun, but I think it'll be fun in a different way.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah. And it could...
I cannot wait to run this game.
I think it would be awesome to run it several times with different people and save... one of the things you do in the beginning of the game is everyone records a message about the place that you're at in case someone else shows up there and needs help or whatever, is to hold on to those and use them as a prop in a campaign based in an entirely different system at some other time, because you could have all of this history.
And have someone actually find the tapes? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If one of my players hadn't just gotten onto a plane to Australia tonight, I would probably be trying to run it tomorrow.
It's Zazamon says it's not going to make it sound like Call of Cthulhu. I'm not a fan of that idea. It's literally a game, and it's very upfront about it. It's a game where all the characters die. That's the premise of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not survival
it tells
horror.
you in the book to tell your players, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
This is a fact. This is the truth.
The point of it is not you can overcome this. You're not going to overcome this. The point is what kind of story gets you to that point. And if that's your cup of tea, that's your cup of tea. If it's not your cup of tea, it's not your cup of tea.
Right.
If it's not your cup of tea, you're probably not going to
Reading the rules are reminding a lot of kind of a Fiasco type game where it's about the story. It's not about the resolution. It's not about winning. You can't win at the game.
It's a fiasco.
It's a fiasco.
Or you could describe it as a disempowerment fantasy.
Yes.
As opposed to an empowerment fantasy.
Well, they call it in the book. It's a tragic horror story.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not a survival horror story.
But
it is a tragic horror story.
There are some stories, like one of the things I like to roleplay are ordinary people doing extraordinary things, right? And this is a story of extraordinary people in extraordinary circumstances being people.
Yes.
But not necessarily overcoming those circumstances. And I don't think that's a lot
the
of people's
game
cup of tea.
mechanics are literally built so that you won't.
Right.
You won't.
I think it would be great for new players to do this sort of thing, so when they get into a regular role-playing situation, they're not trying to win.
Totally change. It could. It might actually set someone in here. Heavy Metal Jess says it sounds like a perfect for non-gamer friends.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But if a culture of I don't have to win and it's still fun can be fostered more, I think there is that sort of feeling in a lot of people who role-played a lot. But there are a lot of people, especially ones who might be new to it, who are used to playing role-playing games on the computer. Well, it is the most railroady possible, and you are going to win. That's the point of the story.
Right.
Or
Or you can make a new character and then win, or
Right.
whatever.
You're going to lose, get a game over,
go to a save
respawn,
point,
or...
right.
Yeah. And so just having it open to the idea that failure can still be fun.
Yes.
You know.
It's a totally different mindset than from your typical D&D game.
Right.
Which is definitely here's a monster, or here's some sort of challenge that you have to get past. You don't get past this.
And again, it'd be a good mindset to put into players too, because sometimes as a GM, you kind of want to put in other systems, like, I'm going to put this overpowering force in front of my players, and it's a story device. They're not supposed to overcome it. They're supposed to run.
Yeah.
And it kind of instills that in these players where, like, oh, you give me an enemy, I have to kill it. And sometimes the GM has to tell the players, you're not going to beat this.
Run
away. But if you play something like this first, it kind of puts that idea in their head of, running is an option. Survival is an option.
We had this one game. This is one of the first games I ever played when I was like 13, and it was a Ninjas and Super Spies / Heroes Unlimited game.
Okay.
And there was this villain named Smokey Mirror who had vibration powers and invulnerability. And in Heroes Unlimited, invulnerability is you are invulnerable. There are things that can slow you down.
Was he invulnerable or nigh invulnerable?
I don't fucking remember. He was when the point was is that we couldn't beat this guy. I also had like some super strength and some other bullshit. And my character was a Ninjas and Super Spies character, had like some dim muck bullshit, and I had the potential to hurt him. And so he like the scariest fucking thing in this game is start hearing because he'd vibrate through a goddamn wall, and then.
Is it your vibrator? No. Oh, God.
It's like, quick, somebody have an orgasm now or else we're screwed. You, what? Have an orgasm? No! So my character tried to, like, make space for the other characters to run. And I got his attention by hurting him, and then I just died horribly. Just ripped apart. Fucked up, guts everywhere, and it was great because all the other characters, all the other people playing, like I knew my character was dying, and everybody else was like run, and it was that the feeling of a like an agent in the first Matrix movie. You know, nobody beat Smokey Mirror, so get the fuck out. And I think that was great, and I think as a young role player, having people cheer my character for dying. Saving the party, I think, was really important in how I see things now, where failure can be fun.
Oh, sure. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, it kind of stems, too, from the fact that you know your character isn't going to make it past the end of the game. When you're playing a campaign, you're playing a long thing, there's a bit, like, even experienced role players kind of want to see my character survive to the next session. Like, but if you know, like, if, for example, if you're playing a one-shot at a con, you're a little more fast and loose with your character, because, like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, if they die, okay.
Yeah, you're more sociopathic.
Right. But so you're much more loose with the character, and you're not trying to preserve them. So it gives you so many more options. Like, you are willing to sacrifice this character because it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to die eventually. This might be your time to die now, and it might actually make a really, really cool story moment.
One of the best things about playing L5R.
Oh, yeah.
Is you are willing to die.
Right. Well, I still haven't had a player character commit seppuku.
Really?
No.
Oh,
I've run like
Let me be in
20
your game
sessions.
so I can commit seppuku. All right.
You had an NPC commit seppuku last session.
Yes. Yeah. In the last game. Yeah. Well, that's easy to make NPCs commit seppuku.
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, being upset at what your lord is doing in L5R can be a very consternating thing, especially if you have a character who is very, very strong Bushido or has high honor.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, fostering a group in which committing seppuku is a good thing is important. I mean, my group played a lot of L5R. We played a lot. And so you really get used to dying. And I think that might have been part of our culture.
Right. It's hard to die in the new L5R, though.
It's not been a combat yet, though.
God damn it.
No, we were reading it.
Yeah.
It's
hard to die.
It's not as easy.
It's buffer sticks. Especially if you're wearing armor.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like if you don't get to critical damage, yeah, it all goes away. You're doing okay. You got hit by a katana twice. It's fine. Walk it off. What else, dude?
Yeah.
Toad's cool.
Yeah, we're gonna try rules as written, and if that works the way I think it's gonna work, then we're gonna go with your idea of multiplying damage by lethality. Is that the stat?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
So we will see.
Yeah, and then it'll get ludicrous. I did a couple experiments with it. There are ways like Crab Samurai still doing pretty a-okay. I mean, they're still get fucked
crab.
up.
I mean,
but they'll be pretty okay. Most everything else, do not get hit by that katana.
Well, yeah, it's gonna ruin your fucking day.
it's a katana.
It's gonna ruin your day.
Right?
I actually watched a documentary on I think it was on Amazon Prime about how katanas are made.
Oh,
they're
it's fucking
folded
cool.
like ridiculously amount.
Holy shit!
yeah,
How
and-
much time those take?
And also they're folded straight, or they're made straight, And then because they have the hard steel here and the soft steel here,
When they-
curve because
when they quench them,
Yeah.
it gets that curve to it.
Uh-huh.
And I did not realize that they fold the steel over and over again. Then they make a trough in it, and then they put softer steel in the middle of it that doesn't have as much carbon in it.
Yep.
Less carbon makes it softer, right?
Yes, less carbon. Yeah.
And then they start shaping it into a sword. So the edge is hard steel, but that hardened steel is surrounded by a softer steel that has more give to it.
So it isn't brittle.
So the blade isn't brittle. It's amazing design, and the fact that someone through
Figured that out,
error, through fucking trial and error, and no concept of what metallurgy was able to fucking figure that out is amazing.
I like to think at some point, two smiths are working in the same smithy. Like, hey, you got your soft metal and my hard metal. Oh, you got my hard metal and your soft metal.
But see, that's the thing. I mean, all the people, because a lot of cultures discovered how to make steel.
Well, yeah.
But getting carbon
Into it.
mixed
somehow.
into it somehow. A lot of cultures figured it out. But then to say, oh well, we noticed they have these two different properties, and we figured out why somehow.
And then we figured out exactly how to do it in this painstaking process that takes for fucking ever that you have to be really good at in order to do it in the first place.
Oh yeah.
The same principle is used in making sushi knives.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, like the yanagi, which
Yeah.
is like the long sushi knife. And that's how, I mean, a
Yeah, they
good
have those
carbon
waves
steel-
in 'em,
Yeah,
yeah.
and a good carbon steel like sushi knife, you'd be shocked at how sharp you can get them. Like, holy fucking shit. And you sharpen them every day, like
Right.
before and after you do any sort of cutting of fish.
I took
you're sharpening
a
that thing.
sushi making class. It's like a 1-day class,
Oh, yeah?
like 3 or 4 years ago, and I bought a sushi knife. The problem is I'm left-handed.
Oh, yeah, they're one-sided.
Yeah.
You're fucked.
I have to cut with the other hand, and it's so fucking sharp. Cutting with the other hand is a really dangerous thing to do because this hand has kind of a palsy to it.
Oh my god.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, it's 9:30. Should we go ahead and end?
Sure,
I have to run 3 hours.
I
I
can
mean,
talk for another hour
right,
if you
like,
want. I'm good at that.
It's almost running to first game of 10 candles. It'll be great.
All right.
Oh man, I'm really looking forward to running that.
Right.
It's gonna be super cool.
It's awesome. It's a great read.
Yes, I am left-handed, by the way. There's actually
You are sinister.
I am sinister. Stork is left-handed. Who else is left-handed? There's another person that comes in once in a while who's left-handed. I can't remember who it is. There's
I am no-handed. Both hands.
They don't work. All right. Yeah, that's it. Cool. Where's my song?
Oh, actually, one thing I want to talk about real
Yeah.
quick. It's in L5R. I wish they had, and we need to put it back into it, is the left-handed advantage. In first edition L5R, if you were left-handed, it was harder for people who were right-handed to deal with your shit because nobody is in a left-handed stance.
I think GURPS had that in their fencing rules as well.
Oh, yeah?
Really?
Yeah, because it's you're
Well, it makes
most
sense,
people
yeah.
are used to fighting someone who's right-handed, and if someone comes, same thing with boxing. Boxers
Oh, yeah.
have the same
The southpaws.
left-handed pitchers.
Orthodox.
That's why there's so
Yeah.
many left-handed pitchers now, because at one point when there weren't very many of them, so I'm like, God, the ball comes from the wrong direction.
Right. So that was Scorpion Samurai had the left-handed advantage, or it was not that you had it.
Wait, are you
in your
saying that Scorpion Samurai are sinister?
Hey-o!
Maybe. But in their school, they would train left-handed, and so they would get that advantage.
There's something else I wanted to bring up. I forgot what it was.
It's okay. It's been that
I
kind of
wanna
podcast.
help you.
What's your opinion on the Spider Clan?
Fuck them. It's fucking stupid.
Bing, bing, bing,
Fucking stupid.
motherfucker! Right there. That's right.
Yep.
Does anybody think the Spider Clan's a fucking good idea? No. It's fucking dumbass.
I read that because that's in the back
Yeah.
of the 4th edition book. I'm
yeah,
like,
it's fucking stupid.
fuck is this shit?
In fact, the way I like to run the Crab Clan when I'm running a game is that nobody has seen or heard of any fucking zombies or shit since the Day of Thunder.
Oh,
And so you have the crab who are manning the fucking wall. You're like, we man the wall. We are here. And they're like, why?
So they're literally
There's ratlings and ogres. Who the fuck cares?
right.
And like, no, we are here because Fu Leng. Fu Leng got the fuck kicked out of him 1,000 years ago.
They're the Night's Watch. They're looking for the White Walkers that don't exist.
Right. And maybe
Until
maybe
they
they do,
do.
maybe they don't
Until they do.
in that campaign.
And you know what? Zombies in 4th edition L5R are fucking frightening.
Oh yeah.
They're really fucking frightening because they with the masks because they don't their faces are covered.
Oh shit.
And fighting them is really dangerous, not just because you can get killed, but because you can get the taint.
Yeah, you can get the taint. That's the scariest thing.
Yeah.
That's like the religion that I kind of created for the Crab Clan, because I like the clans having different religions, is just don't get tainted. That's the entire thing about is just fighting Fu Leng and don't get tainted.
That's kind of my rule of thumb.
What about like salvation? Oh no, fuck that. There's no such thing as salvation. We don't worry about that. We just worry about not getting the taint.
Right.
And that's even better when no one's seen anybody tainted for 1,000 years. So
right.
it really is a belief. It's like, what the fuck is the taint? And you're like, no, the taint is a thing. You can get it. How? By being around bad things. What bad things?
That is more interesting. It
Yeah.
is so much more interesting.
It's more interesting because you have belief.
Well,
and
it's the unopened door. It is the I'm with you.
Yep.
Yeah, I dig it.
Because otherwise, if they're actually actively fighting Fu Leng, it's stupid for the other clans to
not
throw
be
all of their resources.
Oh
into
wait,
that.
here is this BBEG behind the wall. Maybe
Yeah.
we should settle our differences and take care of that.
Yeah, there's this massive Oni coming out of the festering pit of Fu Leng, which we can see.
Right.
Yeah, sure, let's get an army together.
Like, nah, I'm gonna make fans.
It's like, yeah, nah, we're good.
No.
See, in my game, I played it where the taint was a thing. The underworld stuff, no one had ever seen, but there was. I mean, I think it started with because I put these cursed swords in the game that were
Oh right.
that were cursed by the
Maho
maker.
Tsukai?
No, well, the maker of the swords was horribly wronged, and his will that made the swords basically got perverted.
Right.
And the swords themselves were a source of taint. So when the party got one, they decided, let's go bury it in the middle of this field.
Oh right, that's awesome. That's a terrible idea.
Right.
You just tainted everything around it.
Right. Now it's like this weird-ass cursed swamp thing.
Right.
See? Oh man, I love that kind of shit.
My favorite, one of my favorite moments in that game is when what are the ogres? The ogres are real big fuckers, right? The party had just finished doing what they were doing. They had taken some damage from a previous fight, and then they were disposing of this sword. And then they start hearing the... And it's misty. So they know there's something coming, and they can kind of hear what direction it's coming from, and they know it's big. They never saw them. They just ran. Like, no, fuck this. We're getting out of here. Get on the wagon. Get on the wagon.
Sometimes you have to run from the Balrog.
Too bad we can't stay.
Right?
I mean, that's probably one of the first times anyone
Has run.
in one of my games has run from a combat.
Without having
Even
to
when
tell them, like, this is beyond all of you. Get the fuck out.
Nah, I've warned them and they still die.
Oh, no, of course. We all try at least for a round, and then we run.
Right. But that was fun, having them actually run away from. I was kind of interested to see how that fight would go. There's only 3 of them.
It is 100% not dishonorable to run from a fight you cannot win.
No.
Right.
Because it is up to you to preserve the resources of your lord.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you are a resource.
It is
your
not
duty.
It's not your right to squander your lord's resources.
Exactly.
Right. All right. Now.
Beautiful.
Thank you for joining us for season 21, episode 8 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
This is Taffy.
I'm Joey.
And we'll see you next Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific time. Don't know if we're going to have any games this weekend either. But next weekend, next Saturday, there's going to be a couple games on Saturday and Sunday. Of course, we'll have the Vampire Dark Ages game. And then next week, Monday and Wednesday, games should be resuming as they normally do. And thank you very much. And we'll leave you the song.
Bye.
Savage wild.
Come gather, good people, and hear this strange tale of a man who was known in each county and vale. In a pub down in London called the White Horse's Tail, sat the one man in England who didn't drink ale.
He's known in each tavern, both distant and near. That queer little fellow who doesn't like beer.
His father disowned him out of grief and of shame. His wife, she divorced him, and his son changed his name. No country will claim him, and then we can blame for not drinking beer is his one claim to fame.
He's known in each tavern, both distant and near. That sober ne'er-do-well who doesn't like beer.
One day we conspired to drive him quite mad, so I pissed in his tankard where his water he had. I set it before him, saying, "Try this, my lad." He took a big sup and said, "This one's not bad."
He's known in each tavern, both distant and near. That perplexing bastard who doesn't like beer.
Through song and through story, his prominence rose, till the Queen saw the portrait of him in repose. He tried to impress her by wearing new clothes, and a picture of drinking while haunting his nose.
He's known in each tavern, both distant and near. That strange motherfucker who doesn't like lambics or lagers or bitters of ox, or pilsners or porters or mead, sweet and clear, whether stouts or old Isons or ales brown or pale. That strange motherfucker who doesn't like beer.
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.
Bum, 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 bum.